Thank you, practitioner of the day, Susan Wilkinson. Welcome everyone out there in the Facebook world, in the YouTube world, in the sanctity of your own particular world. I will welcome you. And we're going to start our service today with a beautiful sound by Amy Bisher. And the name of the song is Love. Please, technician, lead us on.
It's the cry of a baby, the whisper in prayer, it's voices and laughter. It's the wind in the stillness and the spaces between. It's a spark of fire. It's a seed, a flower, a butterfly's wing. It's a call and an answer. It's a breath, a stirring. It's the pulse in my veins, oozing as and through me. It's the truth, it's a knowing, it's our only design, it's eternally growing. It's peace, it's power, connects all to one, has no end, no beginning. It's receiving and giving. I release, I let go. Divine shrugging the shoulder.
Oh, well, the song is Love, and I am your moderator for today. This is Elegant Mal. Look at my background. Do you have a hint? Do you have a clue of what we're all about today? Yes. For sure, Amy Bishop is talking about love. So I want to welcome all of you to Center for Spiritual Living, Peninsula. We're welcoming everybody here this morning, including our viewers on the internet, Facebook, YouTube. It matters not what spiritual path, or tradition you follow or what communities of culture you are part of. You're welcome here. My name is Elliot Mao. I am the service moderator for today. It is our intention that you be inspired by the music and you also are going to be transformed by the message. Definitely celebrated by this community. You are here by divine appointment. So I extend you an invitation to change your entire life by changing your mind. We teach the science of mind. It's the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. The idea that we live in a spiritual universe, that infinite spirit is in, through, and around us. Most important of all, this presence is a loving source of all good. And every person, you are significant and you are needed. Our doors are open to all of you. This service has been designed especially for you. Welcome home. I would like to have all of us join us in our mission statement. And our wonderful technician has put it up. Our mission is transformation through spiritual practice, education, service, empowerment, and by living inspired lives. Joining me in the service for today is that wonderful practitioner you already heard, Susan Wilkinson, who led us in our meditation. And then our musicians, Amy Bishop. You heard her earlier with the song Love. And then we have Ricky Byers, we have Gary Lynn Floyd, and we have Danny Lee Miller. Yes, we're so well connected to all these beautiful spiritual musicians. And we have an inside speaker. I know her personally. Her to actually come on today's program. Our inside speaker is going to be Elliot Mel. Hi. And then, of course, we have our tech host, Joe Beckner. That's our Joe. That's our Joe. Okay. And after today's event, we have our community hangout. You just get the Zoom link during the service. Is there anyone joining us for the first time today? Gosh, that Beth looks so familiar. And that Susan, I know that face, you see. The rest of you, oh, my brothers and my sister for sure, okay? But some of you who are streaming, you know, we love you. We love you. Okay. So for viewing online, because we're here, please put it on a gallery mode so that you can see all those who are present. And also, you might be surprised since all of us are in this nice little horizontal part, rectangle screen, to vary a little bit. We have already one with our music. Okay. So let's focus our heartfelt service. Thank you for joining us today. Okay. And let's see, what do we have next? Probably our second music. It's called I Release and Let Go by none other than Ricky Byers. Joe, please let us hear I Release and I Let Go.
Time in my life, I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you gotta let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say: I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God, and no more struggle, no more Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release what? Let the Spirit dwell. Oh, in my heart. Yes, I'm only. No, 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 no more struggle. No more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for that. Oh, I release what? Let the Spirit. Oh, in my. Yes, I'm only. No, no more struggle. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for what? God. And God is love. I share. Special music.
Thank you, Ricky Fire. God is spirit, God is love. Hey, I just gotta brag. I was on a plane with Ricky Byer in 1996, flying us over to Agra for the conference for the planetary peace. We hear the keynote speaker was the Dalai Lama. But when I got on that flight and I saw Ricky Byers on my same flight, I knew I was going to be safe. I knew I was going to arrive on time. Yeah. Okay. And now our service continue. We're going to bring our practitioner of the day, Susan. She's going to give us our affirmations. A beautiful affirmation. And that's a beautiful practitioner, Susan.
Yes, our weekly affirmation. Maybe it is our daily affirmation every day of our life. My potential is bigger than my problem. So let's bring this wonderful affirmation deep into our heart, into our soul. Allow our potential to get larger and larger and larger and larger into the manifestation of our creation. And that tiny little problem, whatever it might be, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it is gone. As we realize our potential, we lose our potential and make it real into this time, into this life, into this reality. For we are bigger and greater and larger and more expansive than any problem that could have possibly even be. For we know that in the source of the problem is the solution. It is right in the middle. As we have the yin-yang sign, the white fish has a black dot, and the black fish has a white eye. And this eye is big and great and wonderful as it creates all wonderful resources that we have already. We just haven't noticed. So grateful for this knowledge, so grateful for the knowledge that we have what we need because God is here. And God shines down upon us all the gifts, prosperity, infinite love, infinite gratitude, vibrant health, and greater consciousness. We're so grateful for this, as we say, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much for those inspiring insights, practitioner. And now we're going to segue into our insight speaker. Now, you would think that we are all connected because somehow what she says goes right into what the insight speaker is going to talk about. And I already told you who the insight speaker would be. It will be none other than the person who is wearing the uniform. Oh, for Pete's sake, for Pete's sake. You heard Susan talk about the yin yang symbol, doesn't it? Okay. Well, I'll tell you how it wraps up with today's theme because I was given the theme for today, which is pain pushes until vision pulls. Again, pain pushes until vision pulls. Now, I'm going to let Reverend Allen go into deeper detail about that. But, but that message sort of resonates with me. And it sort of stirred me when practitioner Susan says, you have a problem, where is that problem? And do you have the potential to overcome? Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is pain. You heard that big old word that is using. The problem is pain. So it could be any kind of pain. It could be physical pain. Yeah, we got a lot of that. It could be emotional pain, spiritual pain, mental pain, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm really, really curious about what all of you are going to be thinking about the statement that pain pushes. Yeah, it does make its presence known until vision pulls. Now, I'm not going to talk about any other kind of pushes and pull until I definitely talk about the yin yang sign. And guess what? This is what I teach my friend for a living. I teach Tai Chi and I teach it online and in person. So guess what? You get to have your little Tai Chi lesson today. Yes, you do. Because you know why? You're in my studio. What? You are indeed in my studio. Are you kidding me? That's a Tai Chi studio. Yeah. Okay. This is my Tai Chi studio. And I want to talk to you about this logo here. This logo is, as Susan said, it's a yin yang part. And there are many, many gestures. You see people in the parks and places that are doing their movements and stuff like that. Well, I just want to share with you today that the body is a huge participant in this activity. You see them move, but guess what? I'm preaching to the choir, and I said, there's also the mind. Mm-hmm. And then also there's the spirit. Now, some people get mind and spirit mixed up, but let me just tell you how the difference is when we talk about the mind and spirit in Tai Chi and the body. Body, mind, and spirit. Okay. We're going to use all three with this body to talk about how we're going to deal with pain, how we're going to deal with um, the vision that is going to care. So here's the body itself. And all of you are energy workers. In case you think, oh, even Einstein says E equals MC squared. You are all energy. And there are different types of energy. Everybody knows there's negative energy. There's toxic energy. There are toxic people. There are toxic environment. But there are also people who just, the minute they walk into the room, they just seem to emanate joy and emanate love and so forth. So today's talk is allowing you all to know that you are an embodiment of whatever you want to put out there. So therefore, this body itself, talking about the body now, this body is an instrument and there's a little bit of Tai Chi that you wouldn't know. For example, it shouldn't surprise you that this is an invitation. This is pulling. This is inviting. This is attracting. You see, I'm attracting. And you know, the palms of your hand have portals. That's where the chi travels in and out of, in and out of. So therefore, you can tell when I'm inviting. And then if I go the other way, the yin yang part, there are stuff that I don't want. Don't want. So do you know what don't want looks like? Don't want. Get out of here. No. Okay. So now you do know what to do with the body. This is inviting. This is pushing away. Makes sense. Okay. Now the mind portion. I'm preaching to the choir. Okay. Change your mind, change your whole life. So guess what? The mind is so active. The mind is so powerful, but the mind is also so destructive. Yeah. So whatever you're thinking about is what you have filled your body up. And when this body is filled with that which it is, you know, whatever you're pushing out is what you're pushing out. Whatever you're pulling in is pulling in. So I invite all of you that when you're in a position where you know you want to have more agency in your life, you know, the palms facing down is the position to release, release, release. Because this is the word release. But that's passive. That's like, oh well, life sucks. Horrible things are happening in Washington, D.C. I have no control over my life. I have no, that is passive. And also that is a victim mode. We don't want to be a victim mode. Definitely there are stuff that needs to just get out, drop out. But I want you to know that you have agency, you have power, you have intention. So when you are out there with all the selections of what you want to put out, do you want to say, if this is the inviting one, you go, man, I hope that atmospheric river doesn't come here. Oh, it's going to rain again. I know it's going to rain. Look what you just invited. Oh, no, I did that. Yes, you do now, you know. So if this is inviting, at that moment, the mind now must be thinking about what you want. Okay. What do you want, Joe? What do you want, Beth? What do you want, Carmina? What do you want? How about you, Susan? What's on your mind? Okay. You don't have to unmute yourself right now. You say, I want joy. I want health. I want peace. I want that winning lottery ticket. You know what it is. Okay. So now you know that when I do that body gesture of this, I am going to be thinking about what I do want. Okay. Now the yin yang sign says you also have the agency and the decision to also push out what you don't want. Aches and pain and hatred. Yeah. Oh boy. When during all that time with Asian hate, you know, I did a lot of pushing. Just go away. Hatred, just go away. In fact, I think we're overdue with a little bit more of pushing out hate, don't you think? Yeah, yeah. So when I have that gesture in Tai Chi and I want to push out the stuff, now my mind knows exactly which I don't want. I am pushing out. This is a really powerful gesture as well. All right. So now we get to the third part because people get the mind and the spirit all mixed up. You know, they are very, very close. But in my teaching, I showed you what to the body. I told you what to do with mind. Now I want you to think that the thoughts that I'm thinking, I'm going to ask you to up it one notch. I would like to ask that mind, that thought, be something that is happy, that brings you joy. Really? I have these signs all over my room. I have this sign. This is the sign for happy. And there are two of them. Two of them. Why? Double happiness. Double happiness. Yeah. Usually say, oh, those are for wedding. Those are wedding. That's discriminating. Everybody deserves to be happy, and everybody deserves double happiness. Double happiness. So when you want to do the inviting part, not only do I want you to think of something constructive, encouraging, and positive, I want you to do something that makes you giggle. that makes you laugh, that makes you chuckle, you see, because I have the science behind it. Remember, laughter is the best medicine. The science behind it is when you're laughing, when you're giggling, when you're chuckling, the body is making oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, endorphin. Truly, I have it on record. So when I doing the inviting part and I'm controlling my mind, I think of the funniest thing, the goofiest thing that happened to my son and my children. Oh, and when I see the silly little dogs, the things that my dog did, that's what it is. It could be anything, whatever joy you bring. Okay. Now, because it's the month of February and we're all talking about love, 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 I want to end up my talk with one specific thing. When you are inviting this, whatever it is, I want you to know that February is not just Valentine's Day. It has been declared the month of self-love. Ah, yeah. No more of this. I'm going to sacrifice for my husband, my children, my dog, my blah, 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 blah. No. When you are doing that one movement of inviting, I want you to include self love. Promise? Promise. Okay. All right. So that's my inside talk for today. I believe, what do we have next on the agenda after that inside speaker has just gotten you all excited? You say, oh, you know what? I told you I am always just the warm up band. You know, the real heavy duty talk is coming up next. So please help me welcome our spiritual director, Reverend Alan.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we're talking about the interplay between pain and vision. And also a few related comments to this topic will be a little bit about Black history that are in the way that it's related to pain and vision. Now life is full of suffering. That's where we want to start with. Life is full of suffering. Birth itself is a move from that warm and nurturing place into a cold and terrifying place. And it's our first experience of life, terrifying, moving from warmth to cold. Life is complicated. It's magnificent. It's nuanced. And living life is difficult and uncomfortable. Not all the time, though. Pain is a motivator and a driving force, as it turns out, because it forces us toward a goal and an outcome that pulls us forward and out of anything that's kind of holding us back. If pain doesn't challenge you, in most cases, it doesn't change you. By understanding the interplay between pain and vision, we can connect the influences that help us create personal growth, resilience, and well-being. Now, discomfort pushes us to look for relief, and it pushes us to look for improvements in our life. That's the value of pain. There's more values, as I'll get into later. Life only changes for the better in general when we become more committed to our dreams than we are to our comfort zone. More committed to our dreams than we are to our comfort zone. Pain is a signal that something is wrong, something that we're facing some kind of obstacle that needs to be addressed. Pain motivates us to act, to make changes, to find solutions, and to alleviate pain and restore well-beingness. Knowing our desired outcome and our vision begins to shape the response to pain in all cases. Pain may initially push us, but it's the vision for a better future that pulls us forward. So when we have pain, the whole idea is to overcome the pain. Now, there are 4 noble truths of Buddhism that talk about how to move beyond pain and suffering. 4 noble truths. I'm going to outline them because they're very related to today's topic. How do we overcome pain and suffering? First noble truth is to recognize that suffering begins at birth and it takes on many forms, such as old age, such as sickness, such as death, and it's on and on and on. When we're born onto this planet, life is going to be difficult. That's the way it is. Second noble truth. True suffering is caused by craving, by wanting things and longing for things we really can't have. Same as the 10th commandment. 10th commandment says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's spouse, thy neighbor's house, thy neighbor's belongings. But it's wanting things that we can't have that really causes the pain. Suffering ends when we can let go of this craving, let go of the desires. Little desires are okay because those are easy to let go of. We don't even notice them. But strong desires and strong cravings are the things we really need to let go of. That's the third noble truth. And the crown noble truth, the highest noble truth, basically says that the only path to suffering is spiritual practice. The only path to suffering is spiritual practice. What does that mean? It means living ethically, basically, and developing wisdom. And there's many ways to do that. We have certainly many ways in Science of Mind. Now, Science of Mind's approach to cultivating resilience and well-being is about overcoming physical and emotional setbacks, but also strengthening our ability to cope with adversity. Understanding how pain pushes and vision pulls us toward growth and resilience and well-beingness is a big part of Science of Mind, just that understanding. Science of Mind tells us that setting goals, visualization, and reframing challenges are great opportunities for growth. Science of Mind tells us that the process that we should process of the full range of emotions that come up, including sadness, including pain, including grief, including fear, and also seek help from trusted sources to help us through the pain. There's an ongoing relationship that's forever present between pain and vision. It's always there. Hopefully we're in vision more, but truth be told, just like the yang and the yin, we're going to have pain and we're going to have vision. Now, the interplay between pain and vision is a permanent process. It's always there, that requires reflection, it requires adjustment, and it requires a commitment to moving forward. Vision is better, the vision for a better future and outcome pulls us forward toward inspiration, toward direction, and toward meaning and toward purpose in life. We should try to view pain, whenever possible, as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery, not just it just happened and that's it. There's always learning with pain. Simply experiencing pain by itself is not enough. We need to actively process and reflect upon the experience that we have with it. Staying focused on our vision allows us to pull forward even in the face of obstacles, even in the face of setbacks. Now, there's some key signs of another kind of pain that we often, it's not physical, but it's just as devastating as physical, in many cases even more so. And it's basically spiritual distress and spiritual suffering. It's not a physical thing, but it has physical implications. So what does it mean to have spiritual distress and suffering? Well, here's some of the key signs that we're having that. One is feeling anger and feeling hopelessness, feeling depressed and anxious about stuff, difficulty sleeping, feeling that we're abandoned by God, questioning the meaning of life and why we're suffering. And other signs of spiritual distress and suffering, questioning and doubting spiritual beliefs and asking, why me? Why did this situation occur? That's another sign of spiritual suffering and distress. Now, overcoming pain, as I mentioned, provides a motivation for growth. Pain confronts deep-seated issues, values, and priorities. It forces us to do that. Pain forces us to go within, to have some introspection, and it helps us to create meaningful visions of the future. I'm going to share a very short personal story on a day that many people old enough remember. And that was the day that JFK was shot. I had an experience. I was in a class. I was in a calculus class, my first class in calculus. And I was the only Black student in the class, probably 40 people. And someone said, well, why do you think Kennedy got shot? The professor looked at me and said, well, probably some colored guy who thought he wasn't advancing fast enough. I was shocked. I was hurt. I spent a few minutes just processing that, got up and walked out of the classroom and never came back. I took my failing grade, but I didn't want that to slow down my process of getting through college in as quick time as possible. So I was determined to take my F, but also to take Calculus 1 and 2 the next term. So I didn't really miss a beat. Now, pain often, but that was an experience that happened back then, and I rarely have had anything that serious said to me, but it was one of those comments that this happened. Now, pain often leads us to appreciate things that we previously took for granted, especially health, things involving health and things involving relationships. Social relationships and personal relationships can have pain connected to them. And vision helps us get beyond that. Pain redefines our priorities and helps us to create a vision that aligns us with our deepest values. Discomfort pushes us to be stronger, hopefully wiser. Now, pain is not something we like, but it does bring many gifts. Let's talk about some of the gifts that come with pain. One of the gifts is that suffering helps us to understand the suffering of other people. And it helps us develop a desire to eliminate that suffering, to become more compassionate, to become more humanitarian. Suffering can help us look at and deal with the present moment in a realistic way. Suffering helps us to develop wisdom and a deep respect for reality. Suffering helps us to appreciate life more and to develop perseverance. Everyone experiences suffering one way or another, but people process it in different ways. Years ago, I was a cross-country runner in high school and my first year in college, and it just took up too much time. I had to back off of that, although I did continue to do it. And what I refer to that as is self-imposed suffering. A lot of athletes impose suffering on themselves to be good at their craft, especially if you're a boxer or a football player. And almost any kind of athletic sport you do, there's a certain amount of wear and tear on your body that you endure to get to a better place. When I was running cross country, I would often just, whether I was in a race or not, I had my own stopwatch. And a lot of times when I was not in competition, I would just click on the stopwatch and see how fast I could run 2 miles or 6 miles. And if the time was better than I'd done before, I said, hey, I would have beaten that guy and that guy and that guy. And I would have won the race. But that was just my own self-imposed level of suffering. I don't do any running anymore. Can't even run across the street. I could run across the street, but if I try to run now, what happens is my head gets ahead of my body and I end up tripping because I think of the old me. In any event, you can have self-imposed suffering, and that can be a good thing. That can be a gift. Now, let me talk about a few contributions from some of our Black history heroes that's related to today's topic. One of them is Rosa Parks. The name is familiar to many, many people. She's considered the mother of the civil rights movement. She's a very introverted person. All she did was to sit on a bus because she was tired. And a white passenger came on the bus and said, hey, you got to get up and move to the back of the bus. You don't belong in the front of the bus. She said, no, I'm not doing it. Well, she got arrested for that. Martin Luther King found out about that. He was the second one, and he was more extroverted, and he organized a civil rights Montgomery bus boycott to deal with the situation. We're not riding those buses anymore unless we can sit on the buses. It took a whole year for that to go on. But the buses got emptier and emptier, and they weren't making any money. And finally, the Alabama Supreme Court said, this has got to end. Those people can sit wherever they want to sit. And that's how it worked out. It turns out he had a famous speech with Martin Luther King on the Capitol Mall. I have a dream that someday, and everybody's heard that speech, it's considered one of the most iconic speeches of our time. And what the backstory is that he didn't plan on giving that speech. He had notes, and he was reading from some notes to start off giving the talk. And Mahalia Jackson, a good friend of his and a good financier of the civil rights movement, said, Martin, tell him that I have a dream speech. You've given it many times. Tell him I have a dream speech. So he had the speech, and he gave it, and it was presented beautifully, all flawlessly. People thought it was totally spontaneous, but he had given that speech many times, so he knew exactly how to give it, and it came across beautifully. But that was a great, it sort of paved the way for the whole civil rights movement and voting rights. Now, there's another person who was not well known, although he was a congressman, died recently, a few years ago, a guy named John Lewis. John Lewis would come after Martin Luther King. He wasn't a speaker. He was an organizer. Martin Luther King would go into town, give these speeches, have huge marches, raise a lot of consciousness, and leave and go to the next town and do something else. Well, John Lewis stuck around in the town and said, we got to get people aware of voting. We have to get people aware of getting to the polls, and we have to make sure they get to the polls. So he would just hang out with people, him and his group, called a Student Nonviolent Coordinated Committee. And that really allowed for the King's whole movement to be grounded, to come down to earth, because he didn't stick around. He just sort of gave the big talks and raised a lot of consciousness and moved on from one city to the next. And there's one final person I'll mention, and this is a guy who's way before all of those people. It's a person named Frederick Douglass. He's worth mentioning because he was a slave who escaped from slavery in an ingenious way. When he was a little boy, the slave owner's son and him were friends. The slaves weren't supposed to learn how to read and write. But his son and Frederick Douglass were good friends as little kids. And so everything his son learned, he taught Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass, as a result, learned how to speak and learn how to read and write. And he said, I'm going to escape slavery, pretend like I'm a sailor, and get a sailor suit, speak good English, and I'm just going to pass myself off as a free man. And he did. And that's how he got into freedom. And when he got into freedom, he had these he was a great orator and exposed the horrors of slavery and became extremely influential in recruiting abolitionists and the fight for abolition. And he even did a lot of convincing of Abraham Lincoln, because he was sort of connected with Abraham Lincoln at the time. So he was a big figure. Now, there's one more figure I'm going to mention, and then I'm going to move toward a conclusion. But who is that figure? This is someone everybody knows about, different kind of person, different kind of civil rights leader. And this is a guy named Harry Belafonte. Here's his story. Harry Belafonte is widely known as a legendary musician and an actor, a civil rights activist, and his life illustrated the power of resilience and determination. He was born in Harlem, New York, 1927. And he faced a whole ton of challenges and pain throughout his years. He grew up in poverty, and his childhood was marked by a lot of instability. His mother was actually Jamaican, a Jamaican immigrant, and she had to take care of Harry and his siblings by working long hours as a domestic servant. Why? Because his father left when he was a little kid, and that left a heavy burden on Harry Belafonte. But despite the diversity, despite his adversity, Belafonte possessed a natural talent for acting, and for singing. And as a Black man in a racially segregated nation, his journey to success was always loaded with obstacles and discrimination. But Belafonte faced racial prejudice at every turn because because the prospects for Black artists in those days were so limited. But he was undeterred, and he was committed and pushed forward, using his voice to challenge the status quo. He became involved in activism and used his platform to fight and promote justice and inequality. To promote justice and equality, not inequality. The pain and justice he witnessed and experienced incited his vision for change. And he spent a lot of time marching with Martin Luther King, almost side by side in the front lines. He tried to get his good friend, also born in 1927, to march with him. And he did one march and said, I can't deal with this. This is not my thing. I'm just not into this kind of movement. That was another famous actor, Sidney Poitier. You would think, being Black, that he'd be interested in this. He just wasn't interested in civil rights. That was not his thing. And he was one of my favorite. He's my favorite actor. One of my favorite actors, Sidney Poitier. But he wasn't interested in civil rights. Now, Belafonte's vision extended beyond the struggle of civil rights. He believed in the possibility of a better world, where people could live and races could live in harmony and in peace. And his activism was not only about addressing pain, but also realizing a brighter future. He used his fame to cultivate relationships with influential figures, policymakers, using diplomacy and dialogue for change, and his vision of what was possible drove him to establish initiatives that tackled global inequality and uplifting marginal communities. Throughout his life, Belafonte's journey was defined by his relentless pursuit of justice, happiness, and even social transformation. His pain pushed him forward to challenge oppressive systems that held people back. But it was his firm vision for a better future, where equality and justice prevailed and pulled him toward his purpose. Belafonte's story is a testament to the power of perseverance, empathy, and the power of refusing to be defined by pain. Finally, his vision of life helps us to maybe see what's possible and serves as an example of the power to shape our lives and the world around us. Now, my concluding comment will be two quotes from two famous people. Well, they're pretty famous. That will help sort of tie, and they're related to this topic. And the first two quotes come from Howard Thurman, one of my favorite mystics, actually my favorite mystic. The other favorite mystic is Michael Beckwith. But first, Howard Thurman. What does he say in his book titled Meditations of the Heart? First, he says, any tragedy has an inherent positive good. Any tragedy has an inherent positive good. That's in his book, Meditations of the Heart, on page 68. Also on that same page, he says, the fact that pain is a normal part of the experience of life, we can make pain contribute to the soul and life's meaning. Now, Michael Beckwith actually has two good quotes as well. They may even rival, and I'll do what Thurman said. Here's what Michael Beckwith says in his book titled Spiritual Liberation. He says, not all pain is negative, even though we label all forms of pain as such, and we resist it. Also in Spiritual Liberation, he says, suffering has its own gifts. We are different, but they are different, but equally valuable as a gift of happiness gives us. I'll say that one more time. Suffering has its own gifts that are different, but equally valuable as the gifts that happiness gives us. It's a pretty powerful statement. Now, that concludes my talk for this morning, but it doesn't conclude my words. It doesn't conclude my words just yet, because I want to invite you to go within for a moment and put your attention on that quiet place as I give us a community treatment. Dear Father, Mother God, who's everywhere present, how sacred is thy nature, how comforting thy presence. Just take in a deep breath into your heart and breathe it out. And we accept and know that we are one with the one, and that the one's will is being done through each of us right now on the earth plane, in mind, in body, in spirit. And we know this to be so because there is only one. That one takes on many forms. That one has many faces, shows up in many places, but there's only one. He has many names. Call it God. We can call it universe. We can call it many, many different names. In fact, the Taoists tell us that the Tao created God, and out of God, two was created, and out of two, three was created, and out of three, the whole world was created, out of the Trinity. So as we move through this day, I give thanks for those who are present. Thanks for the truth wherever it is taught. I bless the truth wherever it is taught. There are many forms of truth, many ways of hearing truth. And I bless this nation, our leaders, and what they're doing, and pray that they follow and do what they do with or without the knowledge of God, but that God is in charge regardless of appearances. And it's all going to be all right, regardless of appearances. And so I simply release these words knowing that whatever needs to be healed is going to be healed, whatever needs to be revealed is going to be revealed. And I simply allow these words to rest, and you can join me by simply saying, and so it is.
It's so.
Amen.
When I dive into a deeper field of energy, when I have no eyes to see what lies ahead of me, I will be one with a vibration where boundless joy breeds wild elation. When I dive into a deeper field of energy, when I have exhausted human physicality, I will embrace my resurrection as I move through a new dimension.
Don't you worry, don't you fret. Trust me, I got no regret at all. Into space and out of time, I find my wings and learn to fly from a free fall.
When I dive into a deeper field of energy, when to leave my body has become what's best for me, I will feel from a fresh perception what I have known since my inception.
So don't you worry, don't you fret. Trust me, I got no regret at all.
deeper field of energy. When I dive into a deeper field of energy. When I dive into a deeper field of energy. When I dive into a deeper field of energy. So don't you worry, don't you fret. Trust me, I got no regret at all. Into space and out of time, I'll find my wings and learn to fly from a free fall. When I dive into a deeper field of energy. Thank you.
Well, are you all diving into a deeper well of energy? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really helps when all of us gather together and share this deep dive into a different energy. Because with the energy that we're talking about, as I've illustrated with your Tai Chi part, you have agency to invite what you do want, and you have energy to push out what you do want. So do like Frederick Douglass Martin, do like Philip Belafonte, and do put out that vision and look what it has done. It has held us over all the time. And yes, I know right now there are a lot of things that bother us, but thank you, Reverend Allen, for helping us just put things in perspective. That pain is not all negative. That is true. And I've often said in Tai Chi, pain is just your body telling you you're doing something you need to do something about. Thank you for this really very natural, very honest notice as well. Um, so right now we are showing our gratitude for the joy and the precious gems of information that we have to cope with what is out there. While you are gathering your ways of giving, I'm going to show you a couple ways for you to give. And then when we're all ready to bless these gifts, I hope Joe will show that part. So, Joe, can you show us all the different ways that we could be giving on the chart? We have our beautiful website. You could go to it and press the donate button, or you could also use the PayPal and send it to CSL Peninsula at Gmail. You could also Zelle is from your bank. And I'm told that it's actually better so that PayPal doesn't collect their little service fee. But if you have a check to write, here's your mailbox. And then when we have our beautiful service at Kobe's, we actually have our little donation box going around as well. So if you want to take a little time right now to either go to the website and while we have some really gratitude music to go behind you, I'll just give you a few minutes, and when you're ready, I'm going to have us come up with that beautiful affirmation again. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I like to go into the website and just press that little green button. So meanwhile, Joe, do we have any giving music?
This gift is from my heart, the perfect place to start. This I do believe, in giving I receive, in giving we receive, in giving I receive, in giving we receive.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joe. Okay, so with your gift in hand and heart, um, Susan, we could hear a lot of paper shuffling. Yeah, you could donate your papers as well. Okay, Joe, can you give us that beautiful giving chart? I loved it when we used to show this, and I truly mean it. I have my gift in my heart, and I said, all together, let's just say, I bless this gift with all my love. As I give, I embody prosperity and abundance, knowing I am fully supported by the universe. This is a symbol of my love and gratitude. It does great work in the world and it returns to me easily, effortlessly, and often. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to ask that paper shuffling wonderful practitioner of mine to come and uh, give us a blessing of the tithes and the offering. Susan?
Yes, thank you. Divine Presence, Creator of all, in and through all, seen and unseen. As I am one with our Creator, so too is everyone here in this room and in the world. I know each gift given here today is blessed and given from the heart. I recognize these gifts do great work in the world. As we give, we make a place for these gifts to return back to us manyfold. That is the law of circulation, the way things work. Each prayer offered and received in the ministry of prayer is already being answered in the mind of God. As our practitioners lift each submission in prayer over the next week, I know that the comfort, the joy, the peace, and the abundance is already manifesting. And so it is with deep gratitude and appreciation that I accept these gifts and prayers on behalf of the Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula. And with the same gratitude, I release my word into the law, knowing that it is done in the mind of God. And together we anchor this prayer with, and so it is.
And so it is.
If you wish to send a prayer, please send it to cslpeninsula@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Susan. And at CSLP, we not only have today's service, but we have upcoming events as well. So let's just have some of the ones that we want to post. And if any of you have any announcements at all, I will welcome you as well. So here is um, Joe's posting of a couple things. We have a hangout afterwards. Um, are we using the same Zoom link? That is kind of
Yes,
helpful in what we do. Good. Okay. So our hangout is going to be at 11:20.
11:20, 11:20.
Okay. 11:20. Okay. And do we have any other things to share? Oh, our next gathering in person is February 23rd at the wonderful Hopis, and we will have a special guest with Reverend uh, Akia Baran. So,
Akia, Akia.
Akia. Good. All right. So, mark it on your calendar. And anyone else? Well, okay. Well, of course, when you have me in the group, I always want to advertise like, oh, by the way, we also have tomorrow, we have a mindfulness and wellness meeting. And we have it is online, of course. So what do we talk about? We talk about mindful matters. We talk about wellness matters as well. And indeed, this organization is really not only to be pompous about speaking, but it's actually allowing all of you who have really important things to share to have that voice. I know some of you don't like public speaking. This is not public speaking. This is a class to teach you to be confident in your voice and your message. So, not only that, another thing I do want to post is that we're going to have competition on how well some of us do as so forth. So mindfulness is also going to be one of the competitors at the Bethany Lutheran Church on March 10th. I will mention that again in March, but just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of activity going on. And because based on today's talk about don't be afraid of pain, don't be afraid of setback, the perspective that has been gifted to you today by Reverend Allen and the musicians and myself, hopefully is going to make you strong and have a voice and make a difference in what you say and what you do. So now I would like to bring up Reverend Allen to close with a benediction and send us all on a better self-love way. Reverend Allen.
So let's go within. And once again, put your attention on that wonderful, wonderful quiet place, knowing that we are sitting and standing on holy ground. And imagine that we are in a circle holding hands, and let there be peace on earth. And this prayer is going to take form of a Quaker prayer. So just focus on the silence and let there be peace on earth. And let it begin with me. Just remain in the silence. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, we'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.